the thing.
And he has
I'm sorry for cutting through, but if you have to be keeping all of us in that suspense for close to a year, and the individual you are appointing is already a minister, happens to be one time a former defense minister, deputy defense minister, then why keep us in suspense then?
Okay, so the thing is, Soga, there was already no constitutional vacuum. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Like I said, the chief of defense staff is there with his service chiefs.
Yeah.
There was an acting defense minister, by the way. And isn't it so obvious that the president also, like I see it from the outside, deliberately had Honorable Atuforsen perform that role until after 1 year to perhaps commemorate the former Minister of Defense, Dr. Omani Buama. So perhaps it is also to show some level of respect to the former minister. So like I indicated, Soga, a lot of things into some of these things.
But my job here is to connect the dots, and what I'm connecting now is that right after this appointment, there's equally a shake-up at the national security level. So let's get into that. Okay, before we do that, let's close the chapter. Richard, were you going to say anything else about this whole expectation regarding the appointment of Zaneto? Because some are also, bringing up the political speculation. This is sort of like the Rawlinses and John Mahama on one side. She may not want to, on the basis of closeness or trust issues, bring Zaneto that close to a sensitive institution such as the military, is it?
No, but John Mahama himself, President Mahama himself is a Rawlinses. You've forgotten that President Mahama used to speak for the Rawlinses. He used to speak for the NDC as a party, speak for the Rawlinses. He came through the ranks of the Rawlinses. So the Rawlinses and the NDC has become like the Catholic Church, out of which there were many churches. And the last time he was in Parliament, it was you saw him having a teeth and touch with Zaneto Rawlings. I don't think the president has anything against Zaneto and the Rawlings family, except to say that you are being too mysterious and conspiracy.
That's what you and Adib. That's what you and Adib have been doing to me since. That's what you and Adib have been doing to me since the start of the show.
I learned it from Mr. Richard Kumadoe in the first place.
No, but Adib, that's quite an instructive point to be on the lookout for. Trust matters in security issues, isn't it?
No, when you look at the structure the NDC runs, and you look at what Adib has spoken about and what I have been saying for all these years, each person can be benchmarked. When you take Chaskipo as the director of the BNI, when you take Selassie as the director general of the Cybersecurity Authority, you take IGP Christian Teteyohonu, you take Raymond Acha, you take Aaron Kano at Customs, and you take Basitelli. Each one of them could be benchmarked, and there are streamlined standardizations for those benchmarks. So people always talk about you need to have somebody you believe in, you trust, and there's loyalty. As a minister of defense, what really do you do that you are able to marshal what?
A defense minister is going to be in cabinet.
Done by the technocrat.
A defense minister is going to be in cabinet. Adib, let me hear from you on this. Then we close the chapter on the whole debate about the defense aspect. Then we can get into national security.
Can you come again?
Yes, I was going to hear from you, giving you the last word on this whole controversy around the defense ministry.
Sure. I mean, the defense ministry is a very sensitive position. But like I said, the politician at the helm of affairs in the name of the minister is supposed to provide strategic leadership, the political will, and to ensure that the welfare of those within the defense spectrum are well taken care of. But I always advise ministers, look, when you go in there, there are technocrats, people who know better than you. Maybe you are luckier than them, okay? It is their work. They understand it better than you do. So listen to them. When you go in as a minister and you behave like you know everything, trust me, you're going to hit a rock. And my brother, Mr. Kumadoe, would agree with me. Okay, so I would expect that the new defense minister, he listens to his defense chiefs, okay? Just as the Interior Minister has to listen to the police. He has to listen to all of those agencies under him.
Yeah.
By so doing, trust me, they are going to guide you and you are going to succeed. But when you behave like you know everything, there's going to be a problem.
Okay. Then we see the president act now, making some shake-up at the National Security Council Secretariat. Has that got to do with the unfortunate event of August 6th? Maybe that's my connecting point to all of this and why I brought up the whole debate about what's happening at the Defense Ministry itself. You take a look at that event and some say something is fishy out there. I don't know if you also share the same view. Maybe I should start off with you, Richard.
No, I think if you look within the West Africa regime, we find ourselves in the peculiar area where we have all manner of threats facing us in multiple circles and in multiple hydrons. So what the president has done, by the background of the heavyweights, I call them, is to strengthen the National Security Secretariat and to portray the picture of strength, that we are focused, we are ready, and we are determined to put the strength of our men and women who have the ability to strengthen our National Security Secretariat. And that is all he has done. If you look at Wafayao, where you call it Yaudonko, Yaudonko has been a long-serving director of BNI for many years. When I was joining the BNI, he was the director of BNI. And then he became the director, National Security Coordinator. Then he went out of the country, then he's back doing several things. And I've always said to people, people say Lionel Messi is the god of football. When it comes to security intelligence, you will not be wrong to say that when we are talking about security intelligence and making sure that the right things are done and the projections are made in making sure that national sovereignty guarantees are achieved within timeline, you cannot do it without mentioning Yaudonko. And so that is it. Then you also look at Ayando. Ayando has been a defense chief. He has been the director general for defense intelligence. Then he was the chief of army staff. He has done it all. He has seen it all. Retired DCOP, Peter is a well-known name in this country. And the heavy weight of these people and their background, the president is looking at strengthening the National Security Secretariat where it is worth of his salt. And I don't think he's making those appointments because of the incident or because of any other particular
I tell you why I'm bringing that. Basically, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because you cannot tell me that there's no dint of intelligence failure in the August 6th incident. You don't want to totally dispel that.
No, when you look at the investigations and the investigation outcome, it is more of equipment failure than intelligence gathering purposes. I have been an operational person for 30 years, and I can tell you many of the things I told you, Blessed, on this platform, the investigation outcome point to that same effect. That was more of equipment failure. It was more of a preparational issue than intelligence gathering. And it wasn't because the defense minister himself was involved or somebody from the National Security Secretariat was involved. If you look at the NDC structure, when it comes to national security governance, it is quite different from what the NPP does. And so the president look at it and say, you have Beblolate to the north of the Sahel, somebody with that huge background. Let me bring in all these people together at the circle where the special advisor is also an intelligence officer, which many people do not know. Let me put them in this particular room, and so that they will take decisions in the interest of the state and make sure that the four things are achieved. Public safety challenges are addressed, security assurances are provided by the IGP, intelligence gathering and dissemination is achieved by the Director BNI. Then you have national sovereignty guarantees achieved by the military, and you have Yaudonko, Ayando, DCOP, Peter, and many of these guys is sending there to ensure that these things are done in a manner that projects Ghana as people who are ready. Blessed.
Well, Adib, this is the part maybe Richard hasn't spoken about much. The casualty involved, the man at the helm of affairs, coordinating affairs, ACP Al-Hassan himself, he's been affected by this directive from the presidency. I'm connecting that to, the trajectory that we've seen so far, a change in the, arrangements around the defense ministry. Subsequently, you're seeing the National Security Coordinator moved. And you cannot tell me in the security space that probably there's something going on. And that's also to say that the findings of the August 6th incident, we don't have the benefit of the full briefing.
Okay. So let me make a correction. Alhassan Osman is not the National Security Coordinator.
Okay,
the National Security Coordinator is DCOP Razak Osman.
Yeah, Razak, yes, Osman, yes, yeah. Right.
Okay, so Alhassan Osman was the director in charge of investigations. Already, he's a police officer, and he was the commander in charge of the Ashanman district. Okay, but he moved later to the National Security Council Secretariat to head the investigations unit. So he has been asked to go back to the police. However, DCOP retired Peter Ndekukri. He is also an astute police officer. He has been asked to take over as someone in charge of special investigations. And he is very experienced. He brings a lot of years of industrial expertise to the position. At a time when armed robbery was so rampant in the Upper West region, especially in Wa, it was DCOP Ndekukri who was appointed as the regional director, regional commander of the Ghana Police Service in Upper West region. He went to that area to sanitize it. Okay, so what is happening, in my opinion, is a giant step in the right direction.
But your point is that once the big man at the top is not taking out, everything seems to be okay. But look at the amounts, the individuals coming in now. Something is going on. It's the normal practice for you both as security intelligence people not to speak so much about what's going on. But yeah, I'm a media guy on this side as well. Yeah, I'm just so curious about what's going on.
Well, you see, the thing is, there are a lot of threats. We cannot run away from those threats, okay? My big brother, Mr. Kumadoe, has spoken about the threats from the Sahel region. According to the Global Terrorism Index, the Sahel region is responsible for about 50% of all attacks globally, okay? Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Mali. Just recently, the defense minister in Mali was killed, okay? And we've had to also deal with the issues in Burkina Faso and to ensure that there's no spillover. So when you look at the new list critically, you'd realize that there is one thing at the mind of the president when he was considering these names: prevention. To prevent, not to wait for things to get out of control before we start asking questions, okay? So we need to counter the threat and ensure that it doesn't spill over into the country. And so, in as much as we are interested in the threats from outside, we should equally be interested in the threats from within, which in my opinion and based on my assessment and my experiences is even more serious than the one we think we are exposed to from outside. Issues of land and chieftaincy conflicts. According to the Peace Council, over 350 unresolved land and chieftaincy disputes across the country. Boku is a major issue that we need to closely look at. The issues of proliferation of small arms and light weapons, issues of organized criminality, and even issues regarding piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. So apart from the threats we've had to deal with over the years, every single day there are emerging threats, and they see more than we can see. But one thing is for sure, the president is ensuring that we prevent rather than wait until something happens.
Okay, and Bavlolate has gone more into diplomacy than you'd expect, frontline national security matters. This was perhaps the opportunity for the president to rectify that, isn't it? Because you're saying we have to focus much more on what's happening on the homeland.
Well, I was with Bavlolate recently at the Ministry of Defense when the president was inaugurating the cenotaph. I mean, I've engaged him on several occasions. Trust me, the position he's occupying as the Sahel rep is extremely important. And a lot has been happening, especially regarding cooperation, sub-regional cooperation in dealing with the threats of terrorism. I've always indicated that we cannot do it alone. Ghana cannot succeed without cooperation, without partnership, without the sharing of intelligence, without joint operations, including patrols, without Burkina Faso. That is why some of us were very disturbed. And my big brother, Richard Kumadoe, would agree with me. When the former president went to Washington to talk about the activities of Wagner, issues that didn't really concern him. And the Burkinabes were not happy about it.
You're telling me you wouldn't be worried if you're president of the Republic, and at the time, intelligence has it that you have Russian mercenaries at our northern frontier. You feel that shouldn't be a challenge to a sitting president at the time?
Russian mercenaries, that didn't pose any threat to Ghana. And he was talking about how they've been given good concessions and all that. How is that your business? You know, so my fear is that Burkinabes were not happy about that. And guess what? We apologized. The national security minister at that time went to Burkina Faso. Then later the president went to Burkina Faso to apologize because it posed a serious security ramification between the two countries. So we need to collaborate. And that is why I wish to use this opportunity to call for the revamping of the Accra initiative. It was a great initiative. Unfortunately, things went a bit sour and we haven't really been able to see the intended results.
I see. And Richard, this is opening me up to that conversation. Probably I've been shying away from that for quite some time now. Adib is thankfully bringing that up. This seeming closeness with a military regime up north, Burkina Faso. Yes, they're a neighboring country, but you want to be cautious if you're a democratic leader dealing with some of these individuals. Just over the last 24, 48 hours or so, then we see, of course, a recent announcement being made that we're increasing cooperation with the Burkinabes on some transit matters, business issues across our borders. What's going on?
There are different forms and different kinds of democracy. There are different kinds of democratic governments across the globe. The Asian democracies and the African democracies have few similarities. The Eastern Europeans and the Western Europeans have similar democratic structures. The Americans have a different one. But once you're a sovereign nation,
Richard, Burkina Faso clearly is not a democratic country now, as we speak.
No, so allow me to make the point.
No, I mean, if you tell me there are many forms of democracy, so what's happening in Burkina Faso now is democracy to you, is it?
No, the point I'm making is that you want to take advantage of your neighborliness.
No, but that's not a democracy, is it? Is Traore's regime a democratic one for you? Is that what you're saying? Because you're saying there are so many forms of democracy happening.
I was making a point. Allow me. I'm saying that there are various types and kinds of democratic states, and there are various sides of democracies and leadership, governorships and traditional leadership, and how people select their people. In respect of that, we are a sovereign nation. Irrespective of what happened in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, they are our neighbors. What happened in Cote d'Ivoire, consensus. What happened in Togo, consensus. So we want to live in peace and harmony with our neighbors without necessarily interfering with what they do, their internal democratic processes. And so with that regard, we want to play safe with Burkina Faso. And I did just give you a prehistorical background where we went begging like little babies. We don't want to travel that path again. And when it comes to national security, you are not just talking about hardcore man-to-man something. You need tomatoes from Burkina Faso. And when your women were attacked, you saw the price of tomatoes.
Yeah.
And that falls directly under something Adib is so fascinated about called human security. And he can take a whole day talking about human security. And sometimes I get worried where he learned all those human security from. But tomatoes is a major issue. When we got attacked, and you are not going to say that there's a superpower somewhere that your neighbor that has tomatoes, because he has a form of democratic state, you are not happy with. So you are also at war with them. No, you might not be protecting your national sovereignty. And I believe that is why Gabolate, with his experience in defense and military operations, the president sent him there to be able to watch over the space for us. But then, blessed again, at the National Security Secretariat, these are policymakers. These are persons who look beyond what the operational teams from the National Security Council institutions will do. So Gbagbo plays a key role, the foreign minister plays a key role, and together, I want to believe that once they put their best foot forward, we'll be fine, and our sovereignty guarantees will be achieved within time.
My only concern is the kind of check we're giving to Burkina Faso on these issues. They equally rely on us for various strategic reasons. Our ports are very strategic to them. But we gave them the blank check earlier on this whole transit corridor for tomatoes and all of that. The president had gone into Burkina Faso, secured an agreement with the regime at the time that, of course, there was going to be a free flow. But that was undone by these extremist groups in Burkina Faso, and they didn't help in any way. Well, I don't want to be prejudicial on the matter, but yeah, we signed the agreement with them for things to flow freely between our borders, but that didn't work. So, Adib, that's my concern, really. Maybe you have some more superior arguments on human security and all of that.
On the best, like Togo and Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire changed the constitution. Is that not a coup d'etat? Cote d'Ivoire changed the constitution several times, and that wasn't done by military government. And yet, you go there most of the time. When you go to Uganda today, it's one of the best democracies in Africa and across the globe.
Why do you seem to be jumping to the defense of the Burkinabes? That's a military regime.
That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that let's put it in proper perspective. We are talking about a sovereign nation. Who have neighbors, who have challenges with their democratic state, and they might not be doing it just like the way we do it. We have our values, our norms, and our traditions. We should not be antagonistic with them because they don't look like us, and they are not doing things the way we do. We need them, even for tomatoes. You can't produce tomatoes, and you are saying that your neighbor who has tomatoes, because he doesn't look like you, because he doesn't speak like you, and he doesn't act like you, you are not going to go for tomatoes. Your wives and husbands and children will be coming after you, and that will create human security effect for you. And I'll leave the human security aspect.
Let me bring in Adib. Adib, as for saying that the Burkinabes don't look like us, I doubt. In fact, we have so many of their women also here. Adib knows a lot more about that. You have so many Burkinabe friends, don't you? But anyway, yes, talk to us about the human security aspect. Yes.
Yes, but there's this common saying that about the wolf in the sheep's skin. I agree with my big brother, Mr. Kumadoe. You see, democracy is not all about elections. Elections is just a minute function of democracy. A whole lot goes into democracy. The so-called democracies, when you look deep, you don't even have to go far. They are not really democracies. I mean, democracy is about the free media, the freedom of expression, an active, not just the presence of a civil society space, but an active civil society space. I mean, the democracy is a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. A government that listens to the people. So let's not tickle ourselves into thinking that so far as there is elections at the end of a cycle, it is democracy. There are a lot of so-called democracies that are not really democracies. And back to the Burkina issue. I mean, they've been dealing with the issue of terrorism for some time now. There was a report some years ago by Pro Mediation that pointed to the fact that Ghana may be sort of a resting grounds for these terrorists who might stage attacks in Burkina Faso, come into Ghana to resupply, to rest, to treat themselves, and go back into Burkina Faso to wreak havoc. And there's also issues with proliferation of small arms and light weapons, especially coming from North Africa. The issues in Mali is also having adverse effects because we have common enemies such as Jamaat al-Nusra wal-Islamiyya wal-Muslimin, or otherwise known as Jenim. That is very active in Mali, and that is also very active in Burkina Faso. So the Burkinabe authorities, I must say, are doing the best they can, but there are still some challenges, and I've always indicated that, look, they cannot do it alone. Sub-regional cooperation is very key, because when you wait, when your neighbor's house is on fire, and you don't take proactive steps to douse the flames in your neighbor's house, it might soon get to yours. So we are concerned as a people, and we need to work collaboratively with the Burkinabés to ensure there's no spillover.
Enough of the Burkina story. Internally, you see some challenges you were talking about earlier. Are you able to highlight some of them so we discuss them briefly?
Absolutely. There's still an issue with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The records indicates that, and the records, I must say, is even old. It's a 2016 Kofi Annan baseline survey that points to over 2 million guns in the hands of civilians in the country. So you can imagine 10 years down the line, how many more of these guns would have been in the system. Our brother, Mr. Adam Bona, is now the boss of the Small Arms Commission. I mean, we've engaged him on several occasions. Some initiatives have been implemented, but we think that a lot more has to be done. And one of the critical things we need to look at is ensuring that the Small Arms Commission is made a regulator, very much in line with the Arms Trade Treaty and the commitments of Ghana within the ECOWAS arrangement and all that. Then we have issues with the chieftaincy and land disputes. As you are well aware, one of the elephants, the biggest elephants in the room is Boku. The fear is a terrorist group might come in there and purport to support one side for sanctuary of some sort, because terrorist groups love where there is confusion, where there is no security. And I can give you some examples. In the 1990s in Sudan, because of the confusion there, Osama bin Laden moved there. In Somalia, somewhere in 1991, after the overthrow of Siad Barre, there was total chaos, and Al-Shabaab took advantage and established a foothold. In the early 2000s, after the US invaded Iraq, there was chaos on religious lines, sectarian lines, and Al-Qaeda in Iraq, led by Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, filled the vacuum. So we need to be careful, and we need to work assiduously towards addressing these issues.
And probably one element that we're not focusing on as to potentially how damaging this proliferation of the light arms could be is the impact on illegal mining, which we're all grappling with. Let's deal with that. Richard, let me start off with you, because I've seen firsthand in some of these illegal mining sites where foreign nationals, and I'm concealing the nationalities here because I don't want to be engaged or accused of any prejudice at this point. But you find our own locals collaborating with its individuals, and they have a cache of ammunitions in all of these illegal sites. I've seen them firsthand. Yet, when we're doing the voluntary collection, destroying all of these ammunitions, I'm not sure these individuals are handing them over. So that's a potential threat to our national security, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. And that is why Dr. Zaneto's ministry will be working closely with the Ministry of Lands. We'll be working closely with the agency of the Environmental Protection Agency. We'll also be working closely with the NIMOS people. We'll be working closely with the police and the BNI in that space. I want to say that all the agencies in the fight against Galamsey, media, they will need to review their strategy, and we will need to do a little bit more in this particular fight. A lot has been done, but a lot more needed to be done. Do they need support? Yes. Should they do the work? Yes. Are they doing it? Yes. Can they do more? Yes. Do we need to support them? Yes. So the authorities involved and the agencies involved will need to work a little bit more, and we will need the court to come to our aid in the prosecution of persons who have flouted our laws. And to the political side of things, if we want national security sovereignty, if we want our water bodies to be fresh, if we don't want the diseases that are alienated or affiliated with Galamsey, then we will need to close our ears to the political nuances and make sure that people who flout our laws in the area of Galamsey are dealt with according to law. And that is the only way to serve deterrence to many of the persons who want to get involved. Yeah, because we are foreigners, we don't have control over these people. We don't know what they are bringing in and what they are leaving behind. NAMOS is not at all places. The Forestry Commission will want to have stations. They will need logistics, and it's a huge challenge. So they must get involved, get Ghana Gold Board involved, and let the agencies put the resources at their disposal of the frontliners, and that's the only way to go. Other than that,
and I'm just assuming at this point that the two of you agree that NIMOS is going with the brute force. Where's the national security intelligence is all in all of this? Because the political class would want to show force. There's intelligence ingrained in parts of the solutions. Adib, you don't think so?
It is extremely critical. I mean, this is a very complex problem that requires complex solutions. Brute force, I have always indicated in no uncertain terms, is not the solution to illegal mining. It does matter, but it's just a fraction. We need to deal with the underlying socioeconomic and political issues that is allowing this to fester. Because mind you, when you go to illegal mining communities, I've been to a number of illegal mining communities in the eastern region and in the Ashanti region. The economies there is fledgling, is doing well. I mean, a lot of people putting up Airbnbs, they are putting up hotels. Those in the hospitality industry are doing so well. Recently, I was selling a car. I was not getting a buy in Accra. Someone whispered into my ear, take it to an illegal mining town. They would buy it quick because they have money. All right. A lot of them are born into it. I mean, a lot of them have dropped out of school because when they go mining on daily basis, they are making 500 cedis, 1,000 cedis. So now, when we ask them to stop, what happens to them? Do we have any safety nets? What happens to the local economy? Are we inducing it with anything that would keep it going and not crumble? What happens to the guns? Because I've spoken to a lot of illegal miners who tell me that they have the arms because anytime they mine, they are attacked by armed robbers. And most of these arms are illegal. So what happens to them? Okay. Then to what extent have we engaged the chiefs? Because a lot of the chiefs sell those cocoa asasi maomo, so to speak. Yeah. They sell them the lands that they planted cocoa on. But the cocoa, they've realized that they are not making as much as if it is used for illegal mining. How do we stop these chiefs? Have we engaged other community leaders like youth groups, like religious groups in the area? Okay, so I think that we need to be deliberate about this. The politics is too much. And I'm sure if you leave it to the technocrats, 1 month will be too much to end illegal mining. Look, so I've been to the Ashanti region. Just drive from Konongu towards Ejusu. You see them by the main road. Now they are not even going deep into the bush. By the main road, whilst you are on public transport from Konongu to Ejusu, engaged in the illegal mining. So it is still happening, but I know efforts have been made, NIMOS, etc. But trust me, that hasn't been enough. We need to do a lot more.
Richard, let me hear from you.
I think I perfectly agree with him. Politics is very divisive, and once you bring politics into the fight against illegal mining, you wouldn't win it. And that is what has kept us so long. I agree with him when I've always been saying that they leave it to the technocrat. And it will take us a month or two to be able to curtail this menace of illegal mining. And because we know the people behind it, we are just refusing to go after them. But Adib, you know, the NIMOS guys have introduced a research department that also ensures that once they move, their safety is guaranteed and they get into the areas where they have to be, except to say that the NIMOS are small and they cannot be everywhere at all times.
So that's the point. So why are we not ingraining, intelligence, the departments at the National Security, just to do that aspect of the work?
No, so NIMOS operates under the Ministry of Lands, and they have a whole lot of back office officers that help them in that regard. When they get to a particular area, the BNI and the police get involved. But it's a strategy we have. Initially, you have the police special force in it, and we say for resource mobilization and distribution of same, they should step back and allow NIMOS to take the front line as the leading agency. Right. Probably it is time to look at that strategy again. I will be happy if one day, within a week, all the agencies will come on board to do a swoop and make sure that they get many of the big guys and the small boys out of the area. And that will also help them to call it off and make sure they know who is doing what and who is not doing what. But the processes leading to reclaiming of the land, getting the people out of the place, providing them with alternative source of income and livelihood, those are decisions that go way beyond what NIMOS is doing, and some other person would need to take those decisions.
I see. Probably.
Let me just add. There are intelligence officers attached to a lot of the institutions pertinent to mining in the country. I wouldn't be able to mention specifically because I wouldn't want to give out too much information.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think the manpower has been good enough. Intelligence is extremely key. There are some kingpins who might not necessarily live in the mining areas. They are in Accra, they are in Kumasi, they are in big cities, but they are calling the shots. They are, wiring all of those monies. And if we are able to cut the snake's head, these boys on the ground would be starved of resources and they wouldn't be able to continue with illegal mining. So surely intelligence is extremely critical because look, sometimes when NIMOS gets onto the ground, by the time they get to the mining site, these boys are away. So they move.
Yeah.
So the work I have done had a very simple summary. The use of brute force only succeeds in dislocating miners. It doesn't stop it. So when you go to a mining site, they would leave there, move to another site. By the time you get to the second site, they move to the first site. So that is how it is done. That is why we need to approach this more scientifically.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what we need to do before we go. What needs to change about the national security architecture in a whole? I will start off with even recruitment. That's becoming a thorny issue, and not just for the security and intelligence services, but also the frontline ones, the police, the military as well. All of these areas have quite a challenge. I don't know how you got into the whole service, Richard, and would you say things have changed now?
Yeah, it has become too political, number one. It has become very commercialized, number two. It has become an economic venture, number three. It doesn't provide a platform for young people who are willing to serve their communities and their nation. And Blazer, when we are talking of the security recruitment, let's put into proper perspective. We are talking of the police, immigration, fire, and prisons. Because the BNI doesn't serve form to people. When I was joining, it took me about 3 years to get involved, to get in there. We were just about 4,000 people who wrote the exam. At the end of about 3 years, they took only 5 of us. Today, they don't sell form. Yoko will not sell a form to you. Cybersecurity Authority will not sell form. NACOP, who come directly under the Ministry of the Interior, will not sell form. So we are talking about just the 4. And I think I have been of the view that the security agencies, the 4 of them, just like the military, they have the capacity to do the recruitment in a manner that ensures that background checks are taken seriously, face-to-face interview is taken seriously, and the vetting procedure, which includes the medicals, is taken seriously. But until that is done, I think it has become too political, and we might not be getting it right anytime soon.
Is that ending anytime soon?
No, I don't say it because, politicians who go on political campaign platforms and say, we have put in about 300 people into the military, 300 people into police, and that become an achievement for them. But we are talking about building a scientific National Security Council Institute, just like the BNI is well built, and we are enjoying the benefits from them today.
Yeah.
Just like the Cybersecurity Authority has some of the best officers within this country. If we don't build it properly, it takes about 3 to 5 years for you to catch the tradecraft. So if you bring in people whose background you don't know, and they do not meet the criteria, but the only grants they got in there is politically motivated, you are going to have a lot of problems. I've given them a formula. If they follow through the formula, we'll be fine. Blessed, take a position that the police want to recruit 4,000 people. You can give 1,000 to the politicians. Then let the police recruit 2,000 people who are professionals who need to fill in the gap. And let them flip up the last 1,000 for persons who do not have political godfathers and mothers, but they meet the criteria. In that way, building it if you leave all in the hands of a politician, knowing what it has become these days, my fear is that we might not be meeting the criteria and many things would have gone wrong with us.
I'm sure many MPs are watching us now. They are furious at this point you're raising, because when it comes to the process, the MP.
In the days of President Rawlings, you don't need to know anybody. We applied. Today I am here with my brother Adib Sani. Are we not national assets? We've done it all. We've seen it all. I've written about it. I have trained. I have taught. I have mentored. I have put life at the disposal of the city. And for many years, I have traveled across this country. We never take a penny. And so they need to do it right. Other than that, they are building institutions that do not have the capacity to stand the 21st century challenges as we face them.
Adib, let's not forget that unemployment is a real challenge too. So the politicians ought to solve that. And part of the way is, well, if you're going to be doing recruitments into the services, then let's use that. That's been the notion for quite some time now.
Well, recruitment into the national security architecture of Ghana is not just any type of recruitment. I mean, these are persons who are privy to a lot of state secrets. Unfortunately, in some cases, you see the so-called national security acting like a political party office, and it cuts across the political divide. I mean, these are boys they work with. These are boys who provide them security, especially even at rallies and at the very personal level. So they expect that when the political party comes to power, they are recruited without following the right process, without due diligence into the whole setup. And that is worrying, because when the other political party comes back, what they do is to ask them all to go home, and they recruit their own people. So it has become more like a cycle. It's become a ritual. You know that your party is not in power, so you don't even wait to be stuck. No debriefing, no nothing. And these are people who leave bitter. They are not happy, okay? And they have a lot of state secrets. So we need to be more serious with this recruitment issue, which we have spoken about for a very long time. I remember some years ago, there was recruitment into the police service. After they were done with training, we came back to say, the certificates they provided, a lot of them, it wasn't authentic. So we didn't even establish its authenticity, yet we went ahead to recruit them. I mean, I've known in the past how people even get into the national security with just an ID card. So the ID membership, the political party membership card becomes their qualification. And that is not how to run the security of the states. We need to rely to a great extent on technocrats. And we have a lot of them. They are retired, but they are not tired. And they can still be of great service to the country. Someone like Colonel retired Beflu Lati, he has a lot of depth so far as security is concerned. So beyond being a Sahel envoy, if the National Security Council Secretariat is smart, trust me, they will tap into his skills.
All right, then. Gentlemen, this is where we need to go. Grateful to you, Adib Sani, and to Richard Kumadoe for joining us here on Upfront. You can watch a playback of this conversation later in the week. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com. Grateful to you both, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. My name is Kumadoe, and I'll see you again.
Imagine a family without a home. Imagine a song without a voice. Imagine a church without prayers. Imagine a government without citizens. Imagine democracy without